Hi and welcome to Ottawa English. I'm Angela. In this video we're going to be looking at the perfect tenses in English grammar. You probably know by now that we have a tense to identify an action that's happened in the past. We have one to identify what happens in the present, and we have a tense to identify what happens in the future. Within those, we have a simple, a continuous, a perfect simple, and a perfect continuous tense. That looks like an awful lot of tenses. So keep in mind that what really matters is the blue area. The blue area makes up over 90% of English. The white area, so the past continuous, the past perfect simple, the past perfect continuous, the future continuous, the future perfect simple, and the future perfect continuous, they're used for sequencing, and we're not going to worry about that in this video. What we're going to look at is the blue area, because the blue area is what matters. If you say something that isn't accurate in the blue area, that's when you get a very awkward, sneering look from the person you're talking to, because you're just not communicating what they're expecting you to communicate, or you're confusing them because you're using the wrong tense. So if we take a sentence like this, Mary walked to work, and we have to change walk. So in the present tense, the affirmative would be Mary walks to work. The negative would be Mary doesn't walk to work. And the question would be, does Mary walk to work? In the past, we use the D sound to communicate that the action and time are finished. So Mary walked to work, Mary did not walk to work, and did Mary walk to work. In the future, if we're predicting something, we say Mary will walk to work, or Mary will not walk to work, or will Mary walk to work. And if we know her intention, we say Mary is going to walk to work, Mary is not going to walk to work, and is Mary going to walk to work? In the present perfect, we say Mary has walked to work, Mary hasn't walked to work, and has Mary walked to work? Now we're often concerned about all of these tenses, but these tenses that we've just looked at, that are in the blue area, those make up 90% of English. So they're the ones you really need to focus on. The difference between the past and the present perfect, simple, is often very confusing. So we're going to just take a quick look at that. We'll take this example of a short cartoon where the story starts with this chappie walking up his spoon and ends with him sitting in his bowl of cereal. While we're talking about the first picture, so the first part of the whole story, we say Joey's climbing up the spoon. But now we can't see him climbing up the spoon. He's not doing it anymore. It's in the past. So the action is in the past, but the time of the story is not finished. And so now we say Joe has climbed up the spoon. We can't see him doing it, but we know that he has done it. So the time of the story is not finished, but the action of climbing up the spoon is finished. Now if we just take this picture and describe what's happening, we use our present continuous tense to say that Joe is balancing on the spoon. Now that action is finished, so we say Joe has balanced on the spoon. And obviously Joe has fallen into his cereal. The story's not finished, but the action of falling into the cereal and the action of balancing on the spoon are finished. Now that the story is completely finished, the time is finished, and the action is finished, we no longer have the has with the d. We just have the d. So Joe climbed up the spoon, Joe balanced on the spoon, and Joe fell into his cereal. Let's take another example. Joe bake a cake. Bake is the verb that's going to carry our tense. So in the simple present, we'd say Joe bakes a cake. Joe does not bake a cake. And does Joe bake a cake? In the past, we've got our d. So Joe baked a cake. Joe did not bake a cake. And did Joe bake a cake? If we're predicting what he might do, Joe will bake a cake, Joe will not bake a cake, and will Joe bake a cake? And if we know what his intention is, Joe's going to bake a cake, he's not going to bake a cake, and is he going to bake a cake? And in the present perfect, we're combining the d with has to communicate that the time is not finished, but the action of baking that cake is over. Joe has baked a cake, Joe has not baked a cake, and has Joe baked a cake? Here's 3 for you to try. If you'd like some feedback on your attempt, you can go ahead and pop them into the comments box below. If you're struggling with your English, whether it's tenses, vocabulary, or anything else, give me a call. I'm happy to work with you. My number is 613-614-6460, and you can also reach me by email at angela@ottawa-english.com. Remember that working with a tutor turns any passive learning into active learning. It targets the things that matter, and that's important if you've got a deadline and you've got a test coming up. And it saves you time trawling through YouTube, trying to figure it all out by yourself. So if you've liked my video, please click on the like button. If you've tried the tenses, paste them into the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.